Alright, today's lesson is over drawing triangles, and really what we're going to do is just a recap of everything we've been learning so far in this unit. So first, go over our angles. So anytime you have angles next to each other, they're called adjacent. And this one happens to be supplementary, meaning they add up to 180. So if this one is 115 degrees, we would take the 115 and the 180 and subtract them to find that missing angle and get 65 degrees. So this angle would be 65 degrees. You could also have adjacent angles that are complementary. So let's say that's 44 and 8/10. So these are complementary because they add up to 90 degrees. So you just take that 90 degrees and the 44 and 8/10 and subtract them to find that missing angle measure. So when we subtract this, we get 45 and 2/10 for our missing angle measure. Alright, and so if we have angles that are across from each other, meaning angle 2 is across from angle 4, so let's say angle 2 is 55 degrees. That would make angle 4 55 degrees. These are called vertical angles. Now, angle 1 and 2 are supplementary. So that means they add up to 180. So we do 180 minus 55 to get 125. So angle 1 would be 125 degrees, which would make angle 3 125 degrees because it's vertical to angle 1. Alright, so now we're going to classify some triangles based on angles and sides. So that first one, you look, we have two sides that are same, so that makes it the isosceles. And if you look, all those angles are acute, so it's an isosceles acute triangle. If you look at the second one, I again have two sides that are the same, so it's still isosceles. But this time there's a right angle, so it's an isosceles right triangle. Alright, a couple more. So that first little one there, all the sides are the same. That makes it equilateral. And all the angles are acute, so it makes it an equilateral acute triangle. On the second one there, notice I don't have any of the little tick marks. So that means all the sides are different, which makes it a scalene triangle. And it has one obtuse angle, so it's a scalene obtuse triangle. So when you're naming triangles, most of the time you're going to want to have two names, unless it's only asking you to classify based on sides or angles. But a lot of times it's going to ask you to classify based on both. Alright, so now we need to find the missing angle measure. So in that first blue one, we got a 90 degree angle and a 35 degree angle. So we need to add those up. So we get 125. There's always 180 degrees in a triangle. So we're going to take 180 and subtract 125 from it to get 55 degrees. So x equals 55 degrees. The red triangle there, we have measures of 52 and 95, so we're going to add those up to get 147. And then we're going to take the 180 and subtract 147. To get y equals 33 degrees. And when I was drawing these triangles, I wasn't using a protractor, so don't try and use a protractor to find these degrees. Just use the numbers you're given to prove your answer. Alright, one last thing to go over today, and that's whether or not numbers can actually form a triangle. And if you notice, I have a right triangle there in white, a 3, 4, 5 triangle, and that's going to be very important as you go through in math to remember that a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. What you'll notice though is our two shorter sides, or two legs of that triangle, are 3 and 4. If I add those together, I'm going to get 7. So anytime you have your two shorter legs have to be greater when you add them than your longest leg. If they're not, then it's not going to form a right triangle. So if you look here, I have a leg of 5 and an unknown one, and then my longest one is 13. So I have to have 5 plus something, which is x, has to be greater than 13. So if I subtract 5 from this, both sides, this is an inequality, which you don't have to know right now, but we'll get to that eventually. But you need a number greater than 13 minus 5 is 8. So x has to be a number greater than 8. So x could be 9, 10, 11, 12, even 13. It just can't be less than 8. So if you're trying to decide which number it is, always pick one that makes your two shorter legs longer than your longest leg.